And anybody who is on YouTube, we should be live now. Just gonna check a couple of screens here. And if you were on the YouTube video, you might have to refresh in order to get it to come up. So go ahead and check that out. Just want to welcome everybody. This is going to be formal, informal, just year in review, right? We don't do a lot of live streams in general. Try to do more of those if we can. I made a little impromptu video on the day of, which was last week, and just kind of said thank you. There's not a lot of projects in this space that are around a year later, as you know. I'm not preaching anything you guys don't know. And just wanted to get something out on the day, but wanted to do something a little bit more kind of formal, informal, just hanging out, talking about the year, and just you get to listen to me and Gavin talk, which I don't know, that might be intriguing, entertaining, it might scare you, and you may never come back, but we'll find out at the end of this, won't we?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. We'll find out. I was looking something up earlier. I was on a previous call, and I saw a quote. I want to share the quote, but I want to share the context behind the quote. I'm in my video that I did live last week. I thanked everybody individually, which was first the prime folks, the pre-sale. Those of you who were here had that faith and that trust before we had the goods, so to speak, right? And then kind of thank the people who were newer. A little easier to come in at this point, I'd say, because you kind of see the proofs in the pudding, but still, nonetheless, it's trust and faith in what we're doing regardless. And then I kind of think the naysayers. And so I read a quote earlier, and it made me think of the naysayers. And there's actually a life principle. There's business principles that bleed into life and life principles that bleed into business. And it's a quote from Trevor Noah, which I believe he's a comedian. And the quote is the following. He says, often people who can do don't because they're afraid of what people that can't do will say about them doing. And I thought about that, and I said, there's a lot of things in life that people have lots of great ideas. There are great ideas everywhere. There is graveyards filled with great ideas that don't ever get enacted on. Many times it has reasons to do with other things, but many times it has to do with the fear of what people are going to think of you. What will people say? What will my family think? What will my friends think? And I'm a contrarian by nature. And I look at resistance as confirmation, right? So, if everybody's agreeing with you, you're not having a whole lot of resistance. Are you doing anything that's worthwhile, right? And that's kind of always been my metric and my barometer for looking at, are you making change? Are you making change that's worthwhile? Are you making change that is going to really impact people? If everybody's on your side, everybody's agreeing with you, you have no resistance, it's like, makes me wonder sometimes. So I look at resistance as confirmation. And a lot of people who have great ideas don't act on them, whether it's business or it's something else, because they're afraid of what somebody's going to say. Don't be afraid of what people are going to say. Look at it as confirmation. So I love that. Let's do a couple of things. First, I'd like to just kind of go through, this is going to be like a bullet point, a jab, a punch, an uppercut of just like highlights from the last year. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. I got some stats that you guys are going to find very, very interesting. And this will kind of put things in perspective. And some of you who may not have even been here last year, this may be a little interesting and eye-opening for you. You might not know the whole story behind this. So as you know, we came at the end of the DeFi season, if I may say. DeFi season kind of came and went. Some people called it rug season. Different ways of looking at that, but we came to the very tail end of that with an idea that was different, with utility that was real for people who were clamoring for something real in the space, and using DLT, distributed ledger technology, and blockchain to kind of merge traditional finance and decentralized finance together. So we can kind of at the tail end of that season where people were just launching projects left and right. Some people called them nodes, some people called them other things. Regardless, we came at the very end of the wasteland of failed projects. And I say projects because they were not businesses. And we went live July of last year. Over $3 million raised in a bear market, right? Some people would say it's a lot, some people would say it's not a lot. Regardless, we went live, right? And that was a year ago. And when we designed the system, we designed it with certain pruning aspects in mind. and we designed it with certain utilities and tokenomics in mind that have evolved since then. And as I said on my video previously, the evolution of whether it's a relationship with somebody or a business is inevitable. As a matter of fact, I've run several businesses, and the business from day one looks very different from the business 1 year later, or 2 years later, or 5, 10 years later. It's the nature of business and is the nature of anything really in life. And you typically improve on things through experience, right? You might meet somebody and you might know something about them, and through learning them, the relationship evolves. And business is also a relationship in a kind of a funny way. So, we designed this system, and it's gone through a lot of different improvements and pruning and modifications over time. Of course, we're on the pretense of 2.0 coming soon. But nonetheless, let's go through some of these bullet points, which was we launched last year, and we supported a charity, which is called the James Project. And if you've never checked out the James Project, please do. I interviewed Tiffany last year. Need to do a follow-up. I keep saying I'm going to do a follow-up. I promise I will do a follow-up. The James Project does great work, and we selected them as our official charity. I love that they share the gospel. I love that they are helping women and children, the two neediest in society, as they are being attacked at a lot of angles. So I think that they do just fantastic work. And of course, we had people who were saying, I want to bring friends in this. I want to bring family in this. Can I get something for doing that? Is there something that I can maybe benefit from aside from helping them? And so we launched friend zones. And that was really cool. And we actually see some walls. If you go into Dune Analytics, it's a big shout out to Ray for maintaining the Dune Analytics. You'll see that there are some wallets with a lot of friend zones. I was just looking at this last night. There's a wallet, I think, that's coming up close to 100 friend zones, somewhere in that range. And it's it's not like it's something that's necessary, but I like the fact that people can be rewarded for bringing folks in. We launched friend zones, and that in of itself was not part of the original design, but is an evolution through experience. Okay, it's just a great example of that. And then, of course, a lot of people, I think most people, probably came into XETA Capital because of the utility that was spoken of. And that launched in October. So we see, obviously, Blue Chip going live, and that was the first iteration. And that was utility realized, right? And that was that same system that essentially can be utilized for HFT and any further utility points. So it was kind of already designed, but that gave the first glimpse of doing something that I haven't seen. If you've seen it, let me know. I'll go look into it. But which is you have an emissions-based system with tokens that can be used in a real-world service that are bought back from the company with profits. I don't know if one exists. Wild idea, requires wild money to do so and to pull off, which is probably why you haven't seen it up to this point.
Well, and also just a little fun fact about the pools themselves. Of course, like you mentioned, everything sprouted from the blue chips function, but we came up with the name pools based off the function of how people put their tokens into the system. So what's funny is that even though, the HFT service sort of put the kibosh on blue chip, for those of you that weren't here when it happened, our blue chip servicing was 26% a year. It just wasn't good enough, right? So when we created it, like Showtime was talking about, we started using the term, actually it was CMO. CMO used the term, he's like, okay, so people take their tokens and they put them into this pool, right? And then we send it off to Access and then they go and put it in the services. Like, yeah. But of course, once the first HFT went live, we kept calling them pools on the back end. So we're like, we'll just call them pools. We didn't know if people would get it, but there you go. It's a little bit of the source of how some of the nomenclature happened. So happy little accent, as Bob Ross would say. But then from there, that's kind of where we pulled the nautical theme. We'll talk about it more when we get into the other stuff we've come up with. Yeah, because I figure for those of you that hadn't heard that before, I think probably heard the story before, but that's the origin behind the nautical nature. It has nothing to do with the drip network.
Well, it's
happy
interesting.
little play on words.
I remember when we were first discussing the services and we were thinking, okay, this is, 25,000, 75,000. The first thing I said was, that's a lot for one person. So how can we make this available in a fashion that would still give easier access, but still meeting that and hitting that threshold? And that's where the term pool came up. I kind of like the crowdfunding option where people pool funds together. says, okay, we could still meet that minimum, but still allow people to participate maybe at a lower level. So, right, that's that idea of pools. And we use it to this day. And, you also see it used in Zeta Black, which really is not applicable because you are your own pool. But anyway, the nomenclature, as Gavin said, just carries over. It's become kind of common standard, to this day.
Well, it's actually kind of funny. I guess we could tell people what the pre-sketches look like. It's sort of like the Ed 209 versus RoboCop sort of thing. Originally it was going to be everybody had the option to put $75,000 of your own token in because that was the minimum lot size for our trades. And then somebody much smarter than me was like, why don't we just let everyone get in where they could fit in within the 75 and then send them off as like a pooled amount. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a way better idea.
Right.
Serendipitous.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because then we'll get into this, but then lakes came. It's like we're just playing on the water theme, but it wasn't ever intended to be a water theme because it's actually space theme. So the water theme came just because people pulling funds together, but we're actually space themed. We wish I went something space themed, but we played off it with lakes just because it was water, and it's just kind of funny how that happened.
What's bigger than a pool? Freaking lake.
What's bigger than a lake? So at the same time,
depending on the castle.
That's right. In October also, we saw the HFT go live, speaking of which, it was actually, I might get this wrong, I think it was the 21st, 20th, 21st, something like that. And so that went live, and I think we went through $1 million in one night. If I remember correctly, that's back when pools were 75,000. It was $750 block sizes, went through about $1 million, 1.1-ish. In the first night, and then we did several more that week, so it's actually a big buyback, large, and a lot of people were waiting for it, and a lot of people wanted it. And again, utility realize, and of course, when you look at the blue chip versus the HFT, it was kind of like, well, people. One of the number one demands, I'll say, but more suggestions, I'll say, was what about giving more people access to the HFT at lower levels? And said, okay, maybe. And of course, when you put the HFT side by side with the blue chip, it just kind of puts things into perspective. It's a little hard for people to justify, one over the other when the other has much higher returns, right?
It was hard to justify people getting 26% in a year when we had some members that were getting 25% in a month.
Correct.
It is what it is.
100%.
We're victim of our own success.
First world problem. And then, of course...
Well, and the funny thing is, people talk about getting into pools... Sorry, man.
No, you're good.
People talk about getting into pools now, but the funny thing is, I'm curious, did anybody get into pool one? I would love to see, if you guys don't mind, some of the snapshots of the people that got into pool one. You guys should be caked by now. I didn't get into a pool until the 30s, and I was trying.
Well, especially if you've been in pool one this whole time and haven't withdrawn. I'd be really curious what that looks like. Can I just say that? Because I know it was on lower risk for the first month, 5 weeks, but I'd love to see what that looks like if you're in pool one.
Well, I saw somebody share pool 7, and it was insane. I got jealous, and I make them.
By the way, please feel free to interrupt me, Gavin. That's totally fine. That's how the conversation flows. So don't feel bad if you're interrupting me. I know you don't, but I'll tell you anyway.
Yeah, usually he hits me, just so you guys know, like a battered wife on the back end. He's only being nice because you guys are here.
Yeah, I'm maintained. All right. Right after that, we then said, okay, we had this great opportunity to partner with Uncharted. That's when the pre-sale opened. A lot of you guys hold Uncharted Chapter 1s. Little FYI, there will never be another NFT like Uncharted Chapter 1. Won't happen. That was a one-time thing, and that was, again, with us, I'll say this. With other projects, let me start there. You get an early exit liquidity. With us, it just changes the way you make money, right? A little different than being exit liquidity. But for being an early adopter, and those NFTs are amazing. Can I say that? Compounding NFTs? I mean, come on.
Plot twist. When it comes to Zeta Capital and our subsidiaries and our colleagues, getting in early, nobody that gets in later than you is ever going to get a better deal than you. The goal.
Yeah, early adoption. Everything in life you are rewarded for being early. That's just, as long as you are in the right things, can I say that? The people who in the .com bubble who believed in Google and Amazon, for example, they might have been called stupid, idiots, crazy. Those are all scams, every single one of them. They chose the 80-20, and those are really tiny 80-20, where most of them were failures. So being early adopters and things, as long as you pick the right things to be early adopters and the success stories, that's how you're rewarded. You're rewarded in life for being early, just like crypto. We're all so early in crypto. I have people say this all the time, but I'll say it again. You guys are so early in crypto. I don't know of another project doing what we're doing, but I'm sure one will exist someday. And that just shows you how early you are. So it's a little bit of a testament to that.
It's like the first email sent. Wow, and you can just put it in the mail. You guys ever get that?
Yeah, why would you want to send a digital message? This thing called email. Why would you ever do that? That's crazy. It makes no sense, right?
Just like having a wallet. In 10 years, it's going to be common vernacular.
100%. 100%.
Say the wallet. Call it.
Say the wallet. Hey, quiet. Anyway, so then the need for a different DEX came along, and this is where the story is going to take an interesting turn. And it just so happened that we were contacted by Radio Shack back in August, I think, September, something like that. And they were mostly looking for people to pair their token with, I think it was the radio token at the time. So they were offering this air quote free liquidity, which that's a fancy term for just saying we'll give you your token as long as you pair yours with ours. They were really trying to piggyback off volume more than anything else. So they reached out because they saw our volume. But when the need was there for a new DEX, it's kind of like, well, we already have a conversation going with these people, right? And we wanted to maintain that farm that you guys knew about, provided utility, provided another option for simply to do something with their tokens. And there were other popular DEXs, well-known DEXs on Avalanche that would not do farms for existing projects. They would only do farms for new projects. So a little bit of convincing, was able to convince Radio Shack to do that. And it was going pretty well, the relationship, and we migrated over, and of course we had the liquidity setback, as you guys know, $500,000 loss in an arbitrage, unfortunately, as we attempted to drain liquidity from one side to the other, which, by the way, has been made back. Just FYI, that's been fully made back through trading. Get into that a little later as we discuss the HFT transition.
Look, I messed up, but I got it back. Am I forgiven?
We'll see. See them anyway. So that happened,
and then some,
and then some. 100%. And then we were down for 7 days. Now, I've not really been part of projects that have had some kind of setback where they had to go down and come back, but you don't see a lot of projects down for a week and come back up after losing $500,000. At least I'm not aware of any. Again, you're aware of them, let me know. I'll go look into them. But $500,000 lost, back up in 7 days. And by the way, nobody's rewards were paused. Any business that was down, I always use the word business because that's what we are. Any business that was down in an emissions-based product like we have would have paused emissions number one, right? But the conversation was, well, it's not really people's fault. I mean, they didn't cause it. So why should I have their rewards paused? So that's one of those decisions, you can make the right or wrong decision either way. I'll just put it that way. And, users' rewards were not paused for zones. And that's pretty incredible because obviously during the 7 days, no buying or selling going on, but there's emissions gathering up. So catch-22, I guess you could say. And then so we relaunched.
If you guys dumped the token, I didn't want to give it back to you.
See, Gavin adds a little color to the conversation. That's why I love having him on. Besides the fact that he really does look like the Homelander, by the way.
Right now, I look more like Soldier Boy. I got the beard and the. Hang on, these NFT people, man, they're wild. I got a blend. They'll eat you. That's full native.
That's a boys reference. You'd have to know to catch the name. Nonetheless, relaunched and expanded the HFT access. And then discontinued blue chip. So, again, I have preached 80-20. I mean, before I was in crypto, quite frankly. I ran businesses in 80-20. Everything I've done has been kind of through that lens. And it's kind of interesting because once I had a business mentor who spoke about the 80-20 rule, I think I was doing it like subconsciously even prior to him speaking about it. I always kind of looked at, said, okay, what's the most important thing to do? I know I can do all these other things, but what's the one or two things that I can do? And of course, my mentor, I don't even know if he's around anymore, Ben Cummins, he would preach on the 80-20 rule all the time. He would preach on that little graphic that I show you, what success looks like actually in real life versus what people think it looks like. So I shared things with you that were shared with me that made an impact on me and the way I think about things. That's why I always share that stuff. But 80-20, it's looking at the small 20% that have the 80% likelihood of having the largest impact, right? And when we relaunched after being down for a week, it was, okay, got the HFT over here at 75 plus zones, which, by the way, everybody said was expensive at the time. Open up the access when the token was $200 and when it was 75. Those people weren't around still, but nonetheless, 75 plus zones, HFT, $75,000 pools versus blue chip, 25 zones, 25,000. Far significantly lower rate. We started looking at this. It's like, okay, we started noticing a trend, and the trend was, some people would get to 25 and kind of not really participate. They would, but it wasn't massive participation in the blue chip. And as kind of like I'd say almost like a rewarding, maybe that's the wrong word, but this is one of those experiences drives innovation. Through this unfortunate, liquidity arbitrage and being back up in a week, which is still amazing. Started looking at the access and saying, okay, people have asked for expanded HFT access. They've said that the blue chip, they haven't said it. They've kind of, by their actions have said, they're not participating as much in the blue chip. Why don't we give them that expanded access? What would that look like? So we start thinking, okay, well, we have blue chip at 25. We were planning on doing private equity. It hasn't happened yet. At 50, and then you had 75 for the HFT. So what would that look like if we took those same tiers and gave them access to what they want anyway? Because really, people were here for the HFT anyway. That's just one of those 80-20 lessons. This is what people want anyway, so just give it to them. And that's when we expanded that out to the 10, 15, and 25%. And then, of course, 20% came a little later. I believe that came in maybe December, January, but 20% came later on as well. Feel free to interrupt me if you would like. Otherwise, moving on just a little bit, in a little bit this story, CMO's joined us. Welcome up on stage, CMO, Darth Vader. the Lake airdrop.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Come on, Brian. You got to stay in character. You got to when you say it.
Gosh. No, I was listening to these stories of liquidity and arbitrage, and dear Jesus, that was some fun days. That was exciting times, people.
It's the only time Brad went to sleep so he could have a full night's rest for the morning.
Yeah,
you can't. It was an incredible team effort to pull out of that thing. It was unbelievable, and that's where. And don't forget this piece. That's where lakes were born. Remember, lakes came from that thing because that was like, oh.
I would love to hear Gavin share about lakes, but what just a real brief moment. I remember that night that the liquidity happened, and I kind of treated it sort of like when King David lost his baby in the Bible. What did he do? He cleaned up. He went from mourning. He cleaned up. He washed up. He ate. Went about his day. So I washed up, cleaned up, ate, went to bed. And next day, tackled it. Obviously, right? So it's kind of felt like, okay, it's out of my control. Let's do our thing. Get back on track. And it's really, you have to be, I love being, results and action oriented, and a lot of that stuff,
100%.
You could sit there and cry, but again, crying about something you can't change is pointless. What is necessary is to take action to do it. So just have to bring.
Well, and like what you mentioned, not to interrupt, bro, but you mentioned we're back up in 5 days, right? We had this downtime, no loss in emissions. I mean, I got to say, hats off to devs, to pull that off and continue the flow. Unbelievable. So it worked well, and some great stuff came out of it, and we talk about this all the time. Even our accidents have blossomed into blessings, right? We scratch our heads at this all the time. So
thank you, Dev.
So Gavin,
they say that necessity, what is it about innovation is from necessity? Mother of invention. Yeah, so I was just sitting there thinking, like, how do I get people to not want to kill me? Self-preservation is quite the motivator.
That ship has sailed, Gavin. I'm kidding.
I am a ghost, coast to coast.
And lakes were born.
I would like to go there. I would like to go there because my baby was born at the end of November, and I took a little bit. Thank you. He's 8 months and doing well and rolling and trying to walk and loves Miss Rachel and Coco Melon. Anybody who has kids knows what I'm talking about. But during that time, lakes were born, and I was not really part of those original conversations. So I'd like Gavin to kind of lead. How were lakes conceived? Why, where, and how? Just walk us through that if you don't mind.
So I was actually on the phone with CMO. So he and I shared this origin story. It was a Canon event. So this goes back to CMO. You weren't here, but we talked about how you came up with the name pools because you started with the nomenclature. Okay, so people pulled their money together. We started calling them pools on the back end. And so one day we're talking, and I'm thinking, and really what the issue was some users were saying, okay, I need a way to get my money sooner than withdrawing my pool profits. So I'm still using financial services. I'm still being a good member. I'm being a good, neighbor to my fellow community members at the DeFi. We're all at the whims of the mob, especially when we had the DEX, right? So the idea was, they wanted to use the services, but it just wasn't quick enough for them to pay their fees. And so I was like, man, how do we get people their money a little bit easier? And so we came up with an idea of how to create a more, I don't want to say create a more passive model, but it's a more passive model. It's like, okay, well, here's what we could do with the fund. Know what we could do with them. How do we get clever about how we do the returns in a way to where it's a little more structured, a little more timed, and it's less about we're waiting and getting it and just, look, we're just going to send it to you. You put enough on the front end that we're just going to send it. And we were thinking, okay, well, how do you get people to accept something new? Because, anytime there's an issue, and maybe this is just me, but anytime there's like a problem and it needs to get solved, I always feel like you got to do it a little bit better. Like sometimes I feel like it's self-flagellating. I'm like, you know what? I should have thought of this in the first place. So it's my fault the users are disappointed. So you know what? We're gonna make this even better. And I think it was you and me talking, and you were like, okay, what are we gonna call this thing? I think that's what you said. You're like, okay, what are we gonna call this thing? And I said, and I was just.
What's bigger than a pool?
What's bigger than a pool? I was like, I'm in Texas. Bigger's better, baby. Don't want it if it's better. So I was like, let's go with lakes, man. The great outdoors. Pinged it to the to the mods, and we started going with the lake memes. I was like, it's very Jason Voorhees. I was hoping people wouldn't get afraid. Like, is this Crystal Lake? Don't say the lake, baby.
Well, and that was, on top of all that, at the same time that event happened, right? We had migrated everybody over, launched a new token, right? Migrated that token and everybody's accounts. And in, 3 weeks? It feels like 3 weeks. It was probably a month. We were running lakes, building lakes after that.
That's right.
Wild times, I gotta tell you.
Well, there were a lot of things happening at the same time. I don't want to get off. I think Showtime has a list of chronological order. But yeah, it was the lakes kind of happened. Well, the lakes happened at the same time. And for those of you that are in Sigma, you know that we were sort of debating, okay, as a way to make up for this liquidity loss, we have to find another way for people to not ask people for more money, but still get them a return of what they expect. So we were looking at NFTs, we're looking at tokens. I'm not an NFT guy. Neither of you are NFT guys. So we reached out to an NFT guy friend and said, hey, man, if you were to do this yourself, what would you do? And how would you do it in a way that pairs with our services? And that's where Mr. Seymour came up with Uncharted, right? So there was a lot of innovation that came from that event. So I know it was a squeaky bum moment, as our peers across the pond say. But thank you, everyone, for buckling in and getting through it with us. Promise you, we were working on it. And like I said, mission accomplished. We got the money back. We got it back.
100%. 100%. And it was around that time.
I'm imagining people are cheering. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of imagining people are cheering, but, can't hear them. So you have to just imagine it, online. That's how it works. Maybe one day we'll have a live event. We can actually hear them. I don't know. See what we can do with that. that'll be on year two's bullet list, I guess we'll say. But around that same time, there was also this thing called OTC. And OTC was as a service, something that was offered by ThorFi, and they had used it and were discussing the volume that they had. They're saying, that looked like if we gave people that option, if we had this dichotomy, and it is a true dichotomy in our project, which is we had people who wanted to sell and people who wanted to use tokens. You had the people selling saying, I want to sell, and maybe part was to pay their fees, or part of it was just because they wanted to sell. And you had other people saying, yeah, but you selling lowers my value when I go into services. So it was this back and forth, a really true dichotomy that I don't think any other project has had because they don't have this kind of utility. So we said, what would an OTC system look like? It would allow people who want to sell without impacting the price. Kind of solves that problem, solves that little argument. So launched the OTC that was actually, I think it was either the 30th or 31st of December. Literally a day or two before Lakes launched, actually. It was a really interesting time, December and January. Very interesting time. And so that launched, and that kind of got the snowball started a lot of things. We hit 15,000 zones in January. We launched our weekly updates, Zone Weekly, where I came on and repeated the same thing every single week for quite some time. And Scott Canada just wanted to hear my voice, so he appreciated it. But I think most people just started to tune me out because it got to be very, very repetitive. But nonetheless, it was a very interesting time. We were wanting to find a way to continue engage more, and providing more utility and more options. And I just think the more options you have with your tokens, the better, because that really reminds me of, the velocity of money and the velocity of tokens are very real things. And if you don't have places to go, you are limited. It becomes sort of like a funnel.
Now, Showtime, we almost just missed something. So just so everyone understands, that liquidity event was a 100% canon event, okay? Because from it has sprung everyone's favorite everything. Extended access to HFT. Everyone that doesn't have 75 zones that's in a pool, thank this canon event. The NFTs, if you've got Uncharted NFTs and you're enjoying these airdrops, I hate that it had to happen, but that's what caused it. And there's one other thing that we haven't even talked about. There was one other seed that was granted because at the same time we were discussing with ThorFi, their OTC offering that would benefit our Zeta Blue users. We thought, well, shit, what if we just didn't have a token at all? Some of you might be familiar with Zeta Black. That's when the seed got planted. That's when we started working on that. Once we realized, why do we have a token in the first place? And then we realized, and I've told this to the Prime members, so I'll tell everyone right now, we launched Zeta Capital in a terrible bear market with the worst sentiment ever because we were forced to. Because somebody had to do something to get people's money back because of a certain place a lot of us came from. This was our answer to all those jerk-offs that stole everyone's money during rug season or DeFi season or whatever you want to call it. The people that literally had no intention of serving the people whose money they were taking, this was our answer to them to prove, yeah, it can be done, jerk-offs. Once we got past that, we started putting our thinking caps. So we got to, well, how could we do this even better than they did it? So instead of beating them at their own game, how would we do it if we were the ones that made the game? Personally, American football, always called it that. Doesn't make sense. We should have just called it, that should be soccer, right? So, anyway, that's another conversation. Rugby. Yeah, exactly, right. Well, I would defend us, but it's really just us and the Aussies, and they're kind of weird. So.
It's a great point.
Anywho.
And that goes back to, the fact that your experiences mold your innovation. You can write out a plan. It's just like that graph I showed. It's really no different. You guys are seeing this in real time. It's one thing to say. It's another thing for you guys to actually see it. You're seeing this in real time. What people think success looks like, straight line up. No problems, no issues. It's like when you start a new business, you start a new diet, you start whatever. Oh, this is going to be perfect. This is going to go like this. And then you hit your first roadblock. What? Wait a minute. That wasn't part of the plan. And then you say, okay, hit this roadblock. And as a result of this roadblock, we do this. Okay. And you start going back up again. And you hit the next roadblock. Same thing. So this is how business, how anything in life goes. Nothing ever goes according to plan. And you experience, situations, and then you adapt to them. And then that's, as a result, something better can even come along. And that's a very good point. Thank you, Gavin. I did gloss over that, out of a lot of those things came other products. And I know Zeta Black's very popular right now, and certainly that would have not come along without some of those experiences. So, thank you.
You're exactly right. And one of the biggest things, in our ethos is what is it? It's building that bridge from DeFi to TradFi, right? Getting people from this universe, the crypto DeFi space, to a more stable and less volatile environment of traditional finance, but the high profit side of that, right? And so, everything that's happened has just accelerated that one single objective for everybody in the system, every account. Because when we dropped the tier levels to allow access, introduced the tier levels to allow access, that opened up everything for anyone inside Zeta. Pretty cool. It really was an event out of that liquidity disaster. Everything just seemed to just fly through it. So when I say that disaster turned to blessings, they just keep happening, right? So it really was something. But yeah, we've talked enough about that. Sorry to keep hammering on it, but it was
it's
it was
a
an
thing.
event, obviously.
I spoke to people. I spoke to people who were here for like a week. They just got in, and I'm actually thinking of Brett Slayer and Marcus Riggs actually just got into the project. Just, oh my gosh, what's going on? So anyway, yeah, it's a thing. But I'm glad that we did, kind of discuss that just openly in the last year, because it's definitely part of the journey. And it spawns innovation. From innovation spawns more innovation. And speaking of innovation, when we had the OTC, we were able to improve on parts of it. We came in with this idea, first in, first out, kind of make it a little bit more of a fair system. If you listed today, by the time it cycled around, somebody would have to buy your tokens in order to move the system forward. So we were able to improve on that. And it was right around that time, and a lot of people don't know this, it was right around that time that Zeta Black actually privately launched. We're looking, I believe it was right around Valentine's Day, actually. Privately launched.
It was 160 days ago.
Oh, wow.
Someone can do the math.
Look at you.
I just looked at the Dune today. Yeah, don't get too impressed with me. I went to the Dune, so I was like, let me memorize some stats. See? Even if I can get away with it.
Gavin is always attempted to one-up me, so there you go. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He's wicked smart.
I wear platform shoes, and I'm already taller than him, so imagine it.
You didn't quote the time, so I won't hold that against you. So anyway, you got the date right, though. It was right around, not the exact day, but it was right around Valentine's Day, February. And, it's kind of interesting because the way that was launched was it was sort of like, hey, this is, available. We can, go into it. So obviously some of the team members went into it, kind of tested it out. And then it kind of spawned from there. And then, some people were asking about it because Zeta Black was a thing. It was this thing that was coming and people kept asking for it. And so we opened it up to Prime and then obviously Sigma. And then at this point, even though it hasn't been officially launched, it's still kind of in the testing phase, there are people talking about it and moving into it with great desire at this point. And again, coming from an experience that might not have ever happened if that other experience had not happened. It's a great example of that. By the way, I want to point out something in our comments. MECP2, Pool 7, 527%. There you go. Just want to point that out. 527%. And that would have been the same night. Even though it wasn't Pool 1, it was the same night. I think we launched, I don't even know, something like 15, 13 pools that night, something like that. So still same night, still would have been the same result from Pool 1. And guess what happened after February? I know some people who've been here know. We left Radio Shack, and I'm immediately hearing everybody in the audience saying amen, amen to that. Had a lot of issues with Radio Shack. If you guys didn't notice that. They were interesting. The team that was once very responsive, and I'm going to bash them a little bit, okay, because I'm here to tell you the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts.
No,
that has to be done. Hopefully there's no former Radio Shack employees in the audience. Okay. So the team that was once very responsive just disappeared. Just left. Development team gone, point of contact gone, this person gone. What's going on here? And all of a sudden they stopped paying their bills. Somebody would
Yeah.
go to,
Their services expired.
yeah. And here I am contacting their hosting provider to try to get Radio Shack to pay their bills. It's the craziest thing. And, most of it spawned because what I was told from some people who came over from the Radio Shack Discord was, Ty, during the bear market, didn't want to focus on crypto anymore. So he's going to go to all his other businesses, which are essentially all failure businesses. Nonetheless, he was not going to focus on crypto during the bear market. So I'm like, okay, well, we have a lot of liquidity over there. So what are you going to do for us? So I literally, and this is not a joke, I literally called Ty Lopez, got his phone number, called him, left a message, emailed him, called his business partner, forget the guy's name already, not important. Did the same thing. And this is a back and forth thing. So we said, people at this point, by the way, at this stage already, the volume and the adoption for OTC had overtaken the DEX anyway. Okay, the only people who were going to the DEX were the instant sell. And when I say instant sell, I mean really instant sell, because even at that time, I think a couple hours was the wait time on OTC, maybe a day. Then you'd have all the arbitrage bots, all of the MEV bots sitting on the DEX, and I can still see the addresses in my head, the last 4 digits of some of the addresses, that when you would do anything over $1,000 buy, would capture it and resell it and blah, 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 lowering the price and all that kind of stuff. So he said, the volume and the adoption for OTC is to such a degree that I think we could just dump the DEX and use OTC. As a matter of fact, we had people saying, are we on the journey to OTC only? What would that look like? And all this kind of stuff. And so that's when we made that migration. And to this day, by the way, Radio Shack still never donated to James' project. So maybe I'll send Ty Lopez a bill at his Puerto Rico mansion. See if he pays it. So there was a lot of reason to leave, as you guys know. I don't even have to tell you, especially when the news came out that they could be filing for bankruptcy. Didn't want our liquidity stuck there. As you guys know, what happened with the Celsius lawsuit. There's no guarantee you'd get it back in the bankruptcy trial. So, nonetheless, that's when we went OTC only and moved that liquidity into trading, which again has made back that entire liquidity loss to this day, and then some, as Gavin pointed out, eloquently. And that's when we said, some people say, well, that removes the open market. To a degree, of course it does. But we have a uniqueness to our project. And our uniqueness is we make money and we have utility which drives demand. You remove any one of those pillars, OTC fails and it does not work. We are the first to do a lot of things. I don't know of another project that uses an OTC only platform where you have a queue system at a stable price that allows people to, maybe not as fast as they'd like, but sell, right? And also get into the services at that set price, right? It's kind of like, it isn't like, it is a fact. It's having your cake and eating it too, if I may say. It's, I want to sell, I want to use the services, I want high price, all at the same time. Okay, here you go. That's where that was spawned. So that was a long-winded statement, but
Yeah, no, that was good though. That was good.
yeah,
Spot on, bro.
yeah, thank you. That was
That was quite an event. That one too, that
Oh,
OTC
yeah.
rollout. We were in the middle of a development project, and that developer had some family emergency, and he was part of that other crew.
4 or 5. Yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah, their
fun.
dev was great until he had a loss in the family, and well, you can't fault someone for that. So,
Was it a loss? Is that what happened to him on that deal? I didn't realize that. Unfortunate.
Yeah,
So
it was a close family, an
threw,
immediate family member. You could say that this person sprung from that person's loins. So take a guess, one of 2 people.
Yeah.
So I gave him a pass. That's why I pulled back the ninjas, and I was like, okay, you can live, bro.
yeah.
You're too kind.
But that's the thing. There's nothing negative against Thor. They're great.
No.
For the OTC, it worked. It did its job. I think we improved on it. But nonetheless, somebody has a loss in their family. They have a loss in their family. That's more important than crypto. Sorry, guys. It is what it is.
It was a better experience than Radio Shack.
Oh,
next question.
That's not hard to beat. I would say that's a pretty low bar you're setting there.
A win's a win. Take the W.
I'll take that.
It's all the good things I can say about those guys. They're nice.
Yeah.
What came out of that? Yeah. So what came out of that was, the finalized OTC product that we actually ended up recoding all the way through, right? and that's what's operating now. So that was a heck of a build, 100%. And it needs to be faster. So
The various coding nightmares of OTC. The coding nightmares of rounding. Got a little bit of a PhD in rounding and variable rounding. That's kind of
Can you
interesting.
believe this? Yeah.
Little conversation.
It's been the migrations, the stops and starts. It's been been fun keeping this beast flying.
And guess what else happened that same night? Can anybody else in the audience remember? I'm not going to call you up. I'm being kind of half facetious, I guess. But
I don't say write it because I don't remember what happened.
Well, I'm about to educate you too. I'm kidding.
Yeah, me too.
We had the USDC depegging in the same night that we went on to
Oh man!
How in the world could you forget that?
Bro,
I totally forgot about that. I blacked that out.
Yeah. Some things you can't remember, right?
I don't want to. Oh my god.
So
that one.
Here I am up at 1. I don't think I went to bed till 4:30 that morning, swapping out, and there was no liquidity. There was no liquidity. So check it out. CMO here is asleep. I can hear him snoring on the other line of the phone because we were up so late trying to decide and who has liquidity, who doesn't have liquidity. USDT is a super high slippage over here on Trader Joe, but maybe KuCoin. It's just all crazy, crazy event. And of course, here's the thing. As it turned out, unnecessary to swap out of USDC because it regained its peg. Hindsight's 2020. When it comes to that kind of funds and that degree of money, you don't play games. You don't guess. This is not a casino. It's not personal money. It's not anything other than community funds. So therefore, it has to be treated as such seriousness. So that liquidity that was taken out of Radio Shack ended up being a little less because of that. Because swapping out and losing a deep peg, and by the time it got in, it was a little less than 500. It was like 485, 490 by the time it was sent in. So that when I say that 500K loss was made back, it was made back even with less than 500K. So that's a key point to make. That USDC event didn't just affect XETA, it affected a lot of people. There are a lot of people that hold their funds in USDC. Who would have thought Tether, the most shadowiest, if I could say that, of the bunch of stablecoins, was the one that didn't lose its peg, and USDC, the one that is the most transparent, did. So go figure that one out. It's crypto. I don't try to figure things out anymore. I just roll the punches, at some point.
That should go on the t-shirts. It's crypto.
I think we would all know what that means. Maybe not so much the public, though.
I am so sorry. It's strange. It's almost like that episode of Doctor Who when the doctor's like, what could have happened that you forgot about this? Because one of his future selves can't remember. And I was like, oh, yeah, the USDC I'm pegging. Dang, that was a whole season finale. But then the next season was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a perfect season end. Oh, my God. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I just literally, it's the first time I thought of it since it's over. Anyway.
Just so everyone knows, on the inside, we typically use a lot of terms like, oh man, if this was a movie, this would be the second act, or stuff like that. Like, this is a TV show, that'd be a series finale. What I've learned is that in business, no matter how successful you get, each milestone you reach, there's some sort of a new big boss. And just when you think you've beaten the big boss, you're Bruce Leroy, there's an expansion.
there's the second act that becomes back to life after you kill him. Yeah, 100%.
Or some rando's got afterlife and he reses himself.
What the hell's a Phoenix Down?
Such as life, though. I always look at business and life as one thing, and the principles carry over. You slay one boss, guess what? There's going to be another one coming, so you better be prepared. What's the saying that I think I once heard? You're either running away from a problem, you're in a problem, or you're heading towards one. Something to that degree. It's a negative outlook, pessimistic, but maybe realistic.
No, it's a real thing. We used to have a saying. You could tell the Marines on base. They go, how? I'm like, well, if everyone's running in one direction, you got one group running in the other direction. Is them. Everyone else is running away from the gunfire. We're running towards it.
Oh, ouch.
Hash brown commercials.
And
Kind of like our Zetarians, the few and the proud, not the many and the broke. You know what I'm saying?
Preach.
It's funny.
So what happened next?
Well,
what happened next?
I here I was, trying to keep things tight, and we're already 15 minutes in. I ain't done yet, but that's okay. That's okay.
We're a long year.
We haven't talked to each other all day.
Here's something that
that's how crazy it is.
really random. I don't even want to bring this up. I'm an introvert in real life, and I told my wife today. I said, actually, if I get up and start talking, I actually talk for a long time. She said, that's surprising. Cause I just, sometimes I'm talked out at the end of the day. I don't say much, but it's hard to keep things tight sometimes, even though I always say it. Very rarely ever actually.
And you have to drag me on these. And look at me go.
You're doing all right. You're doing all right. If everybody thinks Homelander's doing all right, give him a thumbs up in the general chat. Actually, put the Homelander emojis. You don't even notice I put a bunch of Homelander emojis in the Discord. So now you can react with the laser eyes if you want, or you can react with him laughing, depending on how you feel.
Yo, give me that milk, baby.
Nice.
Well, we evolved from this point, and we started saying, okay, the entire premise behind Zeta Black, and I've told this story, to some people who've asked, is this merging of DeFi and TradFi, which is kind of the mission. It is the mission of Zeta Capital. Zeta Blue did that, but it's not as direct for somebody who's in traditional finance. A person in traditional finance, I hate to tell you guys, they ain't gonna come buy zones. They're not gonna use OTC. They're not going to use lakes, and they're not going to use pools that close in 29 and a half seconds. It's just not going to happen, right? So this conversation, 100%, right? Exactly. Yeah, I can imagine somebody running a fund trying to get into a lake that closes, so that's where Zeta Black really spawned. It was, how do we give a little bit more direct access to the people, not just the people in traditional finance, which is where the big money is. By the way, there's far more people who aren't involved in crypto than are involved in crypto. But also looking at this just holistically, that's why the IPO came along, because people would ask, why would you want an IPO? What's the purpose? There's a couple of reasons. Number one, it solidifies your legitimacy, because heads up, you ain't going to work with the SEC and you ain't going to go public if this doesn't exist. Just a little heads up, and you're not on the up and up. That's number one. But number two, if people who are in traditional finance come into a product like Zeta Black, you tell them you're IPOing and they know the process. First of all, IPOing in crypto, a lot of people may not even know what that means. It's an initial public offering. It means you're going to offer stock and equity in your company through a stock exchange. People in traditional finance, you're IPOing. Okay, so they know the process. They get it. Makes sense. They know what you have to go through to get it. And it makes Zeta Black product, which is designed for traditional finance, more appealing and more legitimate. And you're legitimate in general, because in crypto, there's very few companies, this is what we are, a company, not a project, that are going public. And hence the IPO. And of course, it's a great fundraising mechanism as well. So, kills a whole lot of birds with a few stones. So, that was made in March, and we made another change. We said, I want to make pools more on a stable system, more on a stable update. And I know CMO could talk about this probably for the next 3 hours, but having the pools updating every day is a challenge. Obviously, there's a lot of data being pulled here, there. We're on a system that we have to rebuild, as I've said to you guys. We're rebuilding our back-end system because our current provider cannot scale with us, and there's issues all over the place and errors all over the place, hence the need for us to build our own infrastructure. So when you have constant updates every single day, and even at that point in March, we probably had, close to 100 pools. I think we launched our 100th one in April, so that's a lot of pools updating all day, every day for different tiers and percentages and blocks, and it's a lot of calculations going on. So we said, how do we simplify this? Because everything is 80-20 in my mind. You take what you have and you make it simpler and more efficient. That's what we said. We're going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to have them update on a certain day. We're going to give a window of time to withdraw, so it just makes everything simpler and makes withdrawals more predictable. It makes the updates more predictable, and as anything in life, including business, expectations are key, and unmet expectations cause problems, so it's setting expectations accordingly.
So we're telling people about 2.0 right now? That's what we're doing?
No.
Nope.
Never mind.
I don't know where that came from. I think he's just messing.
No, dear God. No.
Well, you just said. Never mind.
No,
Are
I
you
didn't just
wanting
say
to be on here for another 3 hours? Is that what you want to do? And then all of a
Oh,
sudden,
now they're going to start screaming for alpha. I know it. Here we go.
yeah.
Just don't.
I hope the developers are not
Stop
on
now.
here. They're about to.
On.
Developers are probably pulled their hair out.
I'm holding in. But I'll give you guys a clue. Okay, so
Oh, come on.
remember the genie from Aladdin? Think of Zeta 2.0 as Jafar. Unlimited power.
You can't vote for. You
David
can't
India.
wish for 3 more wishes. Doesn't work like that.
I wish for infinite claims.
Can't do it. I'm gonna wrap up the kind of story. I've been going. Gee, it was what? Close to an hour. I'm gonna wrap it up. We did a couple things after that.
Yep.
My annoyance of my voice telling you the same thing every single week went to annoying you once a month. So that's what I do. I annoy you once a month with my Zone monthly updates. We launched the knowledge base. And by the way, I don't think the knowledge base is getting enough love. I want the knowledge base to feel the love more. Please visit the knowledge base. I see a lot of questions, and they're fine. You can ask questions. A lot of those questions can be answered in the knowledge base. They really can. Almost any question you can think of, and I went through this, pretty detailed, is in the knowledge base. I'm a big believer, by the way, and I don't know if I sound crazy saying this, that before you put your money anywhere, you should know the ins, outs, and sideways of that system. You should know the nuances and how it works, because it's where you're putting your money. I mean, that's important to understand everything. So I really recommend read that knowledge base, tear it
You're
apart.
a madman.
You gotta learn where you're putting your money. You gotta know what happens if XYZ happens. It's important. The other week I was telling somebody, when you pull out of a pool and that 28 days doesn't get traded, and they didn't know that. You gotta know this stuff. It's really, really important. That's on a serious note. You really gotta know this stuff. So please visit the knowledge base, kb.zetacapital.com. And
I love it when people put in trouble tickets. I haven't got my withdrawal yet. When did you request it? 2 hours ago. Like 30 days.
It's really important, guys. Really, please visit knowledge base. It's not getting the love. It's not. I'll make another announcement for it. And that's kind of it.
We were talking about the pool withdrawal scheduler and how that timed it out so nice, smoothed out all the drops.
Yeah.
The availability, the weekend schedules.
Yep.
That really made a big change. One of the big things we were fighting was, people would withdraw or put in a withdrawal request for any time during the week, right? At any given point in time.
And it wouldn't account for
and
holidays. All these bank holidays came out of nowhere.
Right. And the D app didn't know about bank holidays, so it's processing requests. So these are stacking up in a variety of things, driving the trading guys insane because it's just a pile of requests coming in the door. We're like, whoa! So we started caching them and dropping them in stacks, right? So in batches, and that helped. But what really helped was stopping limiting us to the weekends on that. That made a huge change. So anyway, just shout out to Brad on that. That was his little dream up, and it was perfect. It really helped a lot. So
yeah,
gave us something a little sink our teeth in a little better.
And he was being too nice when we originally designed the Friday update system. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was I think he wanted to do updates, but allow people to withdraw throughout the week, which was still going to cause him to have to go back and do additional manual work prior to the Friday update. So I was like, dude, wait.
Yeah,
I know
you're right. No, you're right. Yeah.
I know you're being nice, but let's try to make your life a little easier if we can. So that's where I told them, I said, let's just do weekend withdrawals,
right,
and that way you see your update, then you withdraw if that's what you want to do right after your update, as opposed to before and having to do this backtrack stuff. So, he's a nice guy. What can I say? We all love Brad.
Yes. Well, and the.
You're
right.
You said his name twice. You say it 3 times. I'll pull here. Watch it.
Is that part of the wish system? I don't know. You can tell me. Silence. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Anyway, it was a great little development. Getting that squared away, and then we were able to implement that. The next thing that happened, I don't know if you have it on here, but when we moved to allowing users to withdraw or set their withdrawal schedule. Right. That was a nice feature as well.
Yes. Yes. It's one of those things. I actually so much I can't even cover it all because I'm trying to keep it short, and I can't.
It's been wild. You're right. I mean, I'm remembering things, and I've already got blacked out events as well as we've already experienced. Depegging.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, you're talking about the lockup. I mean, how many people here remember Ice Ice Baby?
I think I was born.
I meant the Zeta Ice feature. The lockup.
Oh, sorry. I was definitely born for that. Yes, I was definitely around for that.
I wanted to call it a freeze. It was on brand.
Yeah, we had a lot of things.
Channeling my inner Arnold.
We had gold. We had red, platinum,
Silver. No, that's platinum. Yeah, that's right. Oh, silver's a poor man's platinum. Give me that.
I'm a big silver guy. Don't say that. I love silver. And we have some silver bugs in our Discord. Gold bugs too.
You just wait for that Zeta gold-plated platinum. Tell me you get it, and I love you people that get it.
I'm a big fan of Marcus Lemonis. Some of you guys know who he is. He used to have a show called The Prophet. He had a system in businesses. He would say, people, process, product in that order. People, is probably the hardest part, but is also the most instrumental part, can I say? Guess what? You can have the process dialed in, you can have the product nailed down, but if you don't have the people, hard one. And you remove any of those pillars, actually, and it's really hard. And I say that because there's a lot of important people, and I know I'm going to miss some people. I want to give some specific shout-outs. Am I allowed to do that? I think I can. If you're not on this list, don't be offended. Still love you. You played a role in some fashion, but you're not called out. It's okay. Obviously, I'm not going to call the team out because they're part of the team. They know they're important. But I want to start with Ray, as Ray keeps the Dune Analytics updated, and we've recently brought that.
And we never asked him to do it. He did it of his own volition.
He did. He just did it. He runs a lot of Dune Analytics for different projects in his account. But we actually worked with him recently to bring the Dune Analytics more in-house, but he's still doing a lot of the updating. And shout out to him. And that's a lot of work. If you look at all those, every single data point you see, there's a query that he had to hand type in. Even if some of it's copy pasta, he still had to write a lot of it. And that's a lot of work. You have to know the functions. You have to know, anybody who knows development knows what I'm talking about. Queries and SQL is not quite development, but it's kind of in the same realm, in the same category. That's a lot of work, and to keep that updated, and we're changing so many things that he has to stay on top of it. Zeta Black is cross chain, so it's on another blockchain, and he's got to go add that, and what's the contractor? So it's a lot of work. And he does it.
He's had to rebuild that thing so many times to accommodate our insanity.
Yep.
We should just put him on payroll.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
It's like a full-time job.
Ray's in here clapping
Ray,
somewhere. Where's Ray? I know he's in. He's clapping somewhere. Thank you, Ray, for keeping that updated. Thank you for taking the initiative to build that. It's very, very nice of you, and that's a way that I know you contribute, as well as being part of Sigma. If you guys don't know, Sigma is that little group that we run a lot of ideas by.
Ultra elite, super selective, creme de la creme, Homelanders homies, etc.
Some people would ask, what's the point of Sigma? Oftentimes, if you get a lot of voices in the room, it's not always a better thing. Can I just say that? Because what ends up happening is, it's sort of like if you're an athlete, you have to listen to one coach. Can't listen to 15 people shouting 15 different things at the same time. Having a small group of people of different opinions and backgrounds to run ideas by is a lot of benefit in that. And that's what Sigma is. That includes Ray, like I just mentioned. That includes Zeta Dad, Orca Blue, Crypto Mama, Darastrick, our former mod. Darastrick, hope your ministry's doing well, buddy. XRP Grandpa, and of course everybody loves iFly Crypto. Cillian Murphy.
Never heard of him.
The best dressed, best stylish fancy sushi eating guide we all love. So thank you so much. All part of Sigma, and all very, very valuable in their feedback and their opinions. And sometimes we have an idea of something, we run it by them, and they're like, yeah, I would do something a little different. I'm like, okay, that spurs a different idea. So it's very beneficial, and it is that little closed group of like-minded people who provide wonderful feedback that helps us build things and come up with ideas. Thank you, guys.
I'm going rogue. You guys can't stop me. Okay, guys.
I can mute you. I actually can't stop you, but I won't.
So sometimes we want ideas about them, right? Well, we were thinking about, like we said, things can always get better, right? You guys are early, you get early access to things. We were contemplating getting rid of pools. We ran it by Sigma, gave them my best spiel, explained what we were going to replace it with, sort of what our methodology was, and sort of how we would honor the commitments to the previous people, but how we would no longer offer what we call community pools, right? Man, they really didn't like it. They didn't like it so much that I didn't like it. And I love stuff I come up with. So you guys get to keep pools. Yeah, now I know they're cheering. I can hear it from here. That's just an example of the value that Sigma offers. They're trusted advisors. They're people that are using XETA services, so they understand it. So sometimes when we reference things, they can be like, that doesn't work for me. They Hulk Hogan me, right? They changed the script. We got to change the ending. So that's the value of them. They're not stooges. They don't do what we say. They sort of make sure that we're not losing sight of who's most important, which is you, the members. Now, of course, I listen to all of you. No, I don't. But I like these ones in particular, so I definitely listen to them. I'm just kidding. Ew. Vote for me.
We're getting lasered.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, very, very well said, and that is one example. By the way, nobody Sigma's paid. They were thought leaders, and we said, hey, would you be interested in this? Yeah, sure. So, then they're not part of the team. They're just community members that provide feedback, essentially. So, want to thank them for doing that task. It's very beneficial, very beneficial. Maybe we'll expand that someday. We'll see.
Should we call them the HOA? Would that work?
The HOA, I don't know, pay our fees to them. I'm gonna have to start paying HOA fees, I think. I don't know. As much as we bug those people, see. Crypto Mama will take it. She's cool. Love her.
What's kind of funny is
you guys are all awesome.
We're spilling the behind the scenes things. The reason why we came up with Sigma was because we created a new member group for XETA Gold. XETA Gold is going to be sort of a mix between black and blue, right? And then we ended up nixing gold and it became something else. So we're like, well, we already got the memberships, and I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Sigma's better than I'm like, what sounds like Prime? Sigma.
Well, and some of you guys who were really early probably remember I actually had an advisors channel at one point. I don't even know, we had a few people in there. I think there was one message posted in that channel in 6 months' time, something like that. It just wasn't being used, obviously. It was there, had the intention of using it, just didn't happen. So this concept of Sigma was born from people who had some great ideas. And just because you're not in there doesn't mean you don't have a great idea. It's just, like I say, sometimes fewer voices in the room is more beneficial than a lot of voices in the room. Addition by subtraction, I guess you'd say, in that sense.
Well, also, I'll say, I think part of that was because, honestly, the way we were going when we first started, you couldn't tell us nothing. We were winning, undefeated. We were Crixus in the first season of Spartacus, right? I had to get humbled a little bit. I had to go ask some help from some, again, people you trust. You can't just ask anyone for help. They use it against you. So, Sigma, seriously, no joking. We appreciate y'all, and I appreciate you. Thank you. I take full responsibility for these knuckleheads. They're my guy. And one gal. Still 2023.
Careful. See, these would not be as interesting if Gavin was not on here. It'd be very boring. I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm kind of tongue in cheek.
If I didn't have their money in full, I'd be quiet. When I'm jovial, that's how y'all know you're in good hands. I'm not worried about nothing. I'm gonna get invited to a lot of quinceañeras.
It's these could be like super formal. Just stoic and professional and formal. And I think it's okay to be a little loose and have some fun and joke and have kind of, like I said, like formal, informal conversations. I think that's okay. Is that okay in crypto? I think it's okay, right? We have some fun. But
That's okay, man.
I could be super presidential, just so you know. I could be super CEO and but beta reports are this. You guys don't want that. Those people lie. Those people steal. That's how people in prison for fraud sound. I don't think it. Don't need to.
It's important to be yourself and sort of appreciate comfortable in your own skin, as I say. But
you hear that, CMO? Appreciate me. Say it. Say you appreciate me. I'm kidding.
Always do, man. Always do.
Man,
Never ends.
Again, in front of everybody, I'm glad I met you two. Great colleagues, good friends. Forgot about the USDC. That just says something about the camaraderie. It's like, I forgot about I can't believe I forgot about the depegging. I keep coming back to that. With all the stuff we go through, I can't believe I literally forgot about that. Wow.
Well, maybe it's because, I heard one of my colleagues sleeping on the phone from being up so late, and I was up at 4 o'clock trying to find liquidity. I tend to remember a little bit better. I don't know. That's probably something to do with it.
You were a trooper, man. I couldn't make it. I don't even remember what happened. I woke up at like 11 o'clock the next morning and I went, oh my God, where did it go?
There's a reason.
I thought it was a dream.
There's a reason that we glossed over, which is we could not originally get our liquidity out of Radio Shack. You probably remember that, now that I'm mentioning it.
Yes.
It was stuck. Yes. Literally stuck.
We were trapped while it was depegging, and we're watching it just...
we made some phone calls.
Yeah. I don't even remember specifically the technical thing, but it was like it just wasn't working. It wasn't the D-app, which is not surprising. Everything that Radio Shack had built at that time was garbage. But nonetheless, it wasn't working. The D-app just wasn't responding, wasn't initiating the smart contract is basically what was happening. So,
So do you remember it was that magic wallet thing they had. It was the thing where, because we had a Gnosis safe, again, everyone, no one of us has control over the money. It takes multiple signatures to do anything. You had to have a third party. We had to have a third-party authenticator to log into their admin portal with our Gnosis safe, and it wasn't working. And they weren't at work because they were all, rebelling against their boss.
Great cocktail right there. Great cocktail. Yeah, well, that was a time.
It was an unexpected storm. It's one of those when you wake up first thing in the morning and you're just like, what is happening on planet Earth? Yeah, that was that day.
Felt like Joey Cox. Nothing wrong could happen today.
Wrong. I got to move over and make an honorable mention of our Prime group. Honorable mention would not be complete without the Prime group.
Scott Canada.
Canada. I mean, when
I one person in the Prime group.
I keep joking, saying, Scott Canada's working his way up to a mod. I mean, he's there. I don't know what to say. I don't think our community is ready for that upgrade yet. So I don't think it can happen. But nonetheless, our Prime group, you guys were the early ones. You came in when I use the verbiage hope and dream. There was a little bit of discussion in what it was and what it was going to be. But in crypto, you never know, right? I know a lot of people trust me, and other people talked about my faith and things like that. I'm not perfect. I haven't found the secret to full sanctification yet. If I do, let you know. And the fact of reality is, even though while I really, really do appreciate that a lot, I don't think about it as much as I do, but I appreciate it a lot. At the end of the day, it's still a buy and sell project. Day one, before day one, buy and sell. That's all it was. There was no, hey, day one when we launched, HFT, Blue Chip, Lakes, OT, you came along the journey and you're seeing the end result of that journey, of everything we've talked about. And you're seeing that now, but the Prime people didn't have any of that stuff. They had a DEX, they had this thing called zones with a fee structure and buy and sell and token. That was it, right? And to come in and to have that degree of faith to say, I know what you guys are building. I'm coming alongside you. I share the vision. I see it. That really says something, especially at that time of the market. And the market's not so hot right now, but it isn't as bad as it was during that time, and especially in DeFi, it was even worse. So that it's even more meaningful and even more impactful that level of confidence and trust was swayed on us by Prime during that time. So thank you guys, and Prime is
100%.
People kill to get in Prime, by the way, and they just can't because can't all new people in Prime. That's a special group for a special group of people. So thank you so much for everything that you guys have done and continue to do daily.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And this would be completely missing, and I would have failed as a host here if I did not mention our mods. The mods are
Stormtroopers.
the play on with the Darth Vader ethos there. They are the I always say, JT falls in this category. He's not a mod. I don't know. He may as well be, to be honest with you. But JT falls into the same category as the mods do. I say this all the time.
Got one of those red Stormtrooper suits. That's what he's wearing. He's one of the red guys.
Exactly. Changes colors with the scenario, we'll say, right? But the fact remains, I don't say this for effect. If I say it, it's because I truly mean it. I could not do what I do if it wasn't for the mods. It wasn't for JT. Cat with hands. It probably got the coolest name. Sorry, guys. Probably got the coolest name of anybody. I mean, come on. If a cat puts you in your place and he's got hands, you got to listen. You can't not listen.
He's knife handing. Why do you make me do this? He's really an angel.
None of us could keep this ship flying without these cats, for real. I mean, I still have PTSD from one weekend, so I don't know. You guys are troopers.
The CMO worked one weekend answering trouble tickets and customer complaints, and he was like, "We got to give the mods a raise."
Meanwhile, he's going out to the target range, going out to the range at the same time.
Oh, that was something. That was quite an experience. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Appreciate you really.
Mods.
I'm digging through those tickets with you on occasion, and it's good work.
So
well done.
You guys don't know this, but the mods are answering questions. Right, they kind of, I'll use the word policing the Discord. They're answering support tickets. They're in other channels that you guys may not see. Obviously, you don't see all of them. Sigma, Prime, this group, that group. They're all over the place. They do way more than just sit there and wait for someone to ask a question and answer it. Somebody will come in. They'll impersonate me. They'll impersonate Gavin. They'll impersonate CMO. New airdrop, fake link, phishing. Keep your eyes on that. All this sort of stuff, right? And so that's why Cat with Hands, DeFi Harvester, Greg Savage, Nodecatcher, Marcus Riggs, which I won't call Big Mama. He's not Big Mama, he's Marcus Riggs. You guys are doing an awesome job, and like I say, and that includes JT as well, I could not do what I do if it was not for you guys, and I don't say that for a fact, I say that for a fact. Thank you so much, and I would have failed if I didn't mention the mods in my honorable mentions.
100%. Best mod team in the space. Breaks over. Get back to work.
100%. 100%. You've got some other people that also help in the Discord as well. Nostalgic Bro is doing a really cool job just greeting people. That has an interesting effect on people because they come in, they're greeted. That's like, you don't see that in the Discord. You don't see that in the community. It's a little thing.
It's like a machine. He's
like a machine. I know.
It's like, I went in there the other day and I was like, who is this guy? And I was, whatever. But you do a great job, Nostalgic Bro, because I'll tell you, it's almost like a bot greeting. It's so consistent.
I was going to say, I think he's really the Terminator. I think he's AI. I'm convinced he's AI.
Oh, you guys remember? You remember Terminator 2? You remember Judgment Day? I remember. Bro.
I saw a funny quote recently. James Cameron's like, you guys became friends with AI. I tried to warn you 30, 40 years ago, and you became friends with AI anyway. Kind of a little funny bunny trail there.
Sarah Connor, it was a meme. She's staring at you like she's going to kill you. You went where?
Yeah.
You log into GPT or something? Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So thanks, Nostalgic Bro. That I was taught in business that there are changes that whisper and changes that scream, and just a little thing. We sometimes look at it as a little thing, but it can be a change that screams. So thank you so much for doing that. And again, a lot of stuff. Sigma, Ray, Nostalgic Bro. This is stuff that they just did. It wasn't like they're paid. It wasn't like we asked them. These are people who want to serve because they've been served. So thank you for that. And Flow is also really, really great with providing data, and I don't know, a lot of data, actually. I'd hate to see what him and Ray could come up with, but data and charts and this and that. Thank you, Flow. Again, not something that was asked, just something that was given. And, we have a really, really cool Discord. There's a lot of Discords, and ask Scott Cannon, because he likes to go rile up other Discords. It's kind of funny. But nonetheless, you go down the Discords of projects that failed, or maybe they're not failed, but they're just not doing well. Man, it is just like a dumpster fire that's been set on fire on top of that. And we have a really, really diplomatic Discord. Doesn't mean everybody always agrees. Doesn't mean everybody's kumbaya, but it's very professional, if I could just say that. And that's, again, a testament to not just the mods, but a testament to the community, because it takes a village, as they say. We just have a great Discord. It's a great community. People are allowed to come in. They're allowed to ask questions. They're allowed to talk. They're allowed to, just participate. And I just think that's cool. It's very unique, I'll say. And that was the intention from day one. So I'm glad to see that come to fruition. But I want to mention there were some contests that we ran throughout the year. I think it'd be cool just to call some people out in a good way who participated in contests and had won. Back when we were on Radio Shack, just that name brings a PTSD for some people. But back when we were on Radio Shack, we had a graphic contest that Flare XY won. Sorry that wasn't used as much as it should. It was good graphic. It was great work. It just, we kind of stepped away from Radio Shack, of course, so this wasn't really used as much, but it was great work regardless. And we had the Twitter Uncharted sharing contest, and Stu had won that. I remember when Stu won that. That was earlier this year, I believe, STU. And then we had, of course, the meme combination of Marcus Riggs and Bread Slayer, who, if they didn't exist, that memes channel would not be quite as entertaining as it is, who won both the 15,000 zone graphic contest as well as the meme contest that we held earlier this year. That's Bread Slayer. Thank you for submitting those, and thank you for your knowledge in the Discord, as well as those memes along with Marcus Riggs. Those are very entertaining. And
don't forget Burning Ice, bro. Burning Ice.
Nice. Yes, this conversation.
Brings the memes.
It's... Yeah, I know it's money, I know it's finance, I know it's crypto. It's a volatile, emotional cocktail of a topic. I get it, but it's okay to let loose and have fun. That's of course a lot easier with a business that is working as opposed to a project that's not. I get it, but that's one of the reasons I think it works.
Preach.
It's one of the reasons it works. Look, if things were going bad, we'd be really tense up here and really upset. But it's again a testament to, again, doesn't mean everything's perfect. It doesn't mean, there's not issues being worked on or, concerns or questions, but I'm a big believer of the leadership setting the tone. And you probably can tell how loose we are and comfortable we are up here. That's for a good reason. So you guys are free to do that as well, as long as you don't break the rules. Break the rules, then you might have a big mama coming after you. Watch out.
Lord Troopers.
We had the HFT profit sharing contest that Nevada won. And then we have the XETA games that JT does a wonderful job of running. And I'm going to mention the winners, and then I'm going to pause on one of them for a moment. But we have Emlaw, Guts, Don Sean, I think I'm saying that right, XRP Grandpa, Gravy Train, Static, and Starving Dude. Cool name. Those are the monthly winners. We had 2 quarterly winners, Gravy Train and Don Sean. By the way, every one of those calls have been amazing. So when people win those contests, they have a free e-lunch. We're calling it e-lunch. Maybe we don't think of a different word, because I don't think we've actually had lunch on any of these.
It's a date. It's a date.
It's a date. Okay. E-date.
It's a mandate.
A mandate.
Yeah, it's mandated. I have to go.
The intention was to have an e-lunch where we would order lunch, kind of eat together. I don't eat lunch, so it didn't work for me. And then it turns out we just got together and talked. So it's e-lunch is the wrong term, but nonetheless, we'd get together. We would just talk openly. Whatever you want to ask, could be anything. Doesn't even have to be XETA related. and we would get on those calls. Might go 30 minutes, might go an hour, might go 2 hours in a lot of instances. And I wanted to pause on Starving Dude because I'll take it on the chin that I had scheduled our e-lunch this week the same day as my wedding anniversary, and I didn't realize that when I scheduled it, and I said, uh-oh, I'm going to upset somebody. So thank you, Starving Dude, for understanding. I really appreciate it, and we're going to get together tomorrow and have a great e-something, e-date. Maybe you can help us come up with a new name tomorrow. How about that? Looking forward to that. And you know what?
Shouldn't be starving no more.
I was going there, but yeah, we'll talk about that. And you know, that's just a great way to meet your community. That's a very personalized, one-on-one touch. I haven't seen that in other communities, and we do things different here. We run successful businesses, so of course, getting to meet and know and converse and doing that on a deeper level, even though you have to win a contest, yes, but still, it's unique, and it allows you to see and kind of get a sense for who the person is, and they get a sense for who you are. And it really just is like these conversations, except obviously it's them conversing with us, and it's just a great time. And that's been eye-opening, and it's just great to see. And that's been all around the world. We've had people in other continents coming on those e-lunches, and that's just a great way to get to know your community. And aside from having live events, that's probably the next best thing, is getting like a one-on-one if somebody is able to do that. And I didn't even mention our devs. Why didn't I mention our devs? Honorable mention. How can I not mention our developers? Our devs.
Because we gave them a shout out earlier, so you thought you checked the box.
You can't leave without being specific and excluding and just mentioning our developers. Sleepless nights, and I posted a funny meme. I thought it was funny. I don't know. A while back of shows Leonardo DiCaprio of the whole. I don't even know what movie it's from. I think I'm supposed to know, but anyway, it shows how he can't operate off of any sleep, and then it shows his eyes have like these big black marks under his eyes. And I tagged Zeta Brad in that because it was funny, because Brad really doesn't sleep; he just works on stuff. But the developers are in the same boat. He's a quasi-developer, of course, he develops too, but nonetheless. The developers specifically, all the sleepless nights, all the, what is this flow chart that Showtime and Gavin just built, and that's going to keep us up and have nightmares at night of Zeta 2.0.
Bro, it's easy. It follows the lunar cycle, okay? All right, so when Mercury's in retrograde, the zone's going to negative. It's a multivariable analysis.
Look at
what don't you get?
I kid you not, developers look at the flow chart me and Gavin build for 2.0. Oh my gosh, what is this? It's crazy. And they just do a wonderful job, and there's a lot of them, and it's a big job maintaining this, especially with the back end that has to be rebuilt, and the current back end has causing issues, responding to support tickets. This is one of those positions, again, like mods. They do a lot. They're building, they're improving, they're designing. They're trying to make our visions come to reality, and they're dealing with support tickets, and I claimed the zone and didn't get tokens, and the withdrawal hasn't shown up, and this hasn't updated. It's like, I use the analogy of a garden, and you prune a garden because it's very accurate in my mind. If you allow a garden to just kind of sit there, it grows weeds, and weeds need no encouragement to grow, so they're going to grow, and you have to come in and constantly water and shear, cut things back and prune it. And it's an ongoing job that never ends. And as long as you want that garden to look beautiful, you have to be there tending to it. That's exactly what the devs do. So thank you, Dev 1, 2, 3, and 4 for everything you do.
They do.
Much. You
guys are in our development group. The title of the group is Die But Do. So that's their that's their motto, and that's what they live by. They're incredible guys. Anything needs to happen, no matter how bizarre. They've pulled it together. The ridiculous time frames. They really are incredible. Big shout out, boys. You all rock.
It's so easy to say, hey, this isn't working, what's going on? But there's so much that goes into that, and the technicals of it is just, it's amazing. I did little tiny development work, but not a whole lot. You don't want me developing things. You want the pros to do it, and they are the pros.
He's seen our lucid charts. We're safe. That billet will never fall here.
Our charts, our flow charts are the things that would keep you up at night, make you lose sleep. And they literally do, by the way. They literally make people lose sleep. So it's
True.
It's
There's no lie right there. That's a fact.
It's all,
a big fact. Especially all the gymnastics that we've gone through over the years, the months. Feels like years. There's been so much. Yeah. It's crypto time. It is. It feels like a century's gone by, and it's zip.
Isn't that true?
Oh, that's only yesterday. What? So
happens.
it's wild, and these guys have they've met all the demands we've created. You guys got to understand, we didn't. This wasn't a product that we just repurposed, right? This is a brand new invention. We have an IP that hasn't been developed anywhere. There's people that have tried, they've crossed the bridge to some degree, but to have this seamless flow that we've developed here, it's pretty significant, and it's unique in the space, and that's what's led to this first year of fantastic results. So yeah, these guys they took a vision. I'll shout out to these two cats, Showtime and Gavin, Brainiacs. Gavin, he never stops. This kid, he's never turns off. He's on all the time. Energizer Bunny, right? You remember the commercial? That's the man right there. Energizer Homelander. And he's just hammering through. Was it Duracell? One of them. So
No, you're right. It's the Energizer Bunny. I said screw Duracell.
Oh, screw Duracell. So I mean, and Matt, such a grip on the system and the 30,000 foot view, and kind of policing all this and making sure the community's taken care of, and the organization that Matt has brought to this team, it's astounding. So this structure you see on the left side of your Discord window is an astounding set of work, just in and of itself, and that's only what you see. What's gone on in the back end, the knowledge base, and everything. This is wow, man, it's good. We've got a great team here. It's a pleasure to work with guys that have honor, integrity, and keep their word. That's a big thing for me, and it's meant a lot. So appreciate you boys. Much love.
Well, thank you.
At this first year anniversary.
Thank you, and I echo that sentiment back to you and Gavin, as well as the members of the team who are here listening but not up talking, which is totally fine. When you're in crypto long enough, and you're in DeFi especially long enough, your BS radar gets very sensitive, and your trust factor probably gets even more sensitive. And I'm speaking from somebody running a project, a business, not even on the other side, although I was on the other side, you will find very quickly the flaws of humanity in crypto, and you will find the flaws of humanity in DeFi. So to have a team that you can trust and is on the same page as you and is all working towards a common goal, that is not around to screw people over, is unique in of itself. And then to be able to execute is even more unique. So I share that sentiment back with you, and thank you for the kind words. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not unnoticed, bro.
You're going to make me follow that? Same to you.
Oh.
UI.
Ditto.
Are we going to go to main questions? Man, I'm over here trying to act hard. I want people thinking I'm a badass, and you're making me cry. Jesus, you people.
Make the Homelander cry.
You're a big softy.
Do you cry lasers? Just curious. Never seen Homelander cry. I don't know. Well, he did cry in the show. What am I talking about? He did cry.
Stop it. Look, only when I'm alone, I'm talking about building, bro.
He cried a lot.
Just stop it. Where's Griff when I need him? Stop it.
Well,
anyhow. So are we going to do a questions from the audience? They've been good. They've been with us.
Before we do that, I just want to say something, and everybody else, all you zone holders, all you cats that have bought in, that are compounding your way up the tiers, you guys putting your trust in this project. It means a lot. It really does. So you can't be skipped over here in the shout out land. But wanted to throw that in before we go to AMAs. Appreciate all of you and everybody that's putting up with. We have 741 41 support tickets and 1,800 users. So if that tells you anything, we're busy over here, but we appreciate every one of you putting up with the issues that you've run into, and but more importantly, just thanks for keeping up with your commitments here and telling your friends, because you people are like dragging your neighbors in, and it's pretty fun to watch. So, and it's just been an honor to do this so far. So, okay, questions. Do it. Who's up for questions?
And by the way, I'll point out this while people are thinking if they want to ask questions, is we are almost coming upon a year later 1,000 zone holders. They were like 990. Some people say, wow, that's really slow growth. I call that healthy growth. I don't know. I come from the non-crypto business where realistic growth is what we're seeing, not this explosive straight up and straight down. So I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but we're coming up on 1,000 zone holders. Just thought I'd mention that. And
yeah, that's something.
You're right.
Well, and that's there. Also, people should, just like in the Discord, right? People should know it's not like we're out here begging for new business. You know what I mean? We've denied service. The soup Nazi meme goes around the Discord sometimes. It's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to serve you guys. We don't want just anybody coming in here and ruining your experience. This isn't a totally centralized operation, right? So you let the wrong people in here, and it ruins the experience for everybody. Mm-hmm. So thank you all for being awesome, and I look forward to making you oodles and oodles of money next year.
Amen, said the choir.
That's it.
That was good. That was a good one, brother. Right on the money.
We don't have any questions, or at least nobody's raising their hands. I think we're going to end there. We'll continue, conversing in the Discord, of course, afterwards. And again, a year. You don't see a lot of projects around a year later. If they're around a year later, they look vastly different a year later. Not ever in a good way, by the way. Mostly in a bad way, if I could just say that. Or they've locked up your money, lost your money. It's sitting in a Lamborghini somewhere, something like that. So being a year later that's a milestone of itself. And I just want to appreciate everybody joining again. I want to appreciate everybody coming here. I want to appreciate just everybody who believed in this early on and all the way to today. And I'm going to end with the same statement, that the best is yet to come. Thanks a lot. Take care. God bless.
Thanks, guys.
Are you went too quick?